Our friendship will last forever. It will never die. Well, hello everyone, my name is Peep Peep, and welcome to Corpse Party Book of Shadows. This is the next chapter. I forget exactly what chapter in order this is, because I haven't played this in a good few weeks, because I keep forgetting to play it. So let's just try to finish it soon. Oh, so I obviously know a lot of this stuff goes back into the next game, which is Blood Drive. So I remember a lot of this from that game. I actually never played this game before, so that's why I always keep mentioning it. My mind was in a daze. The lights on the ceiling were spinning, moving in and out of one another, alternating between hazy and distinct and forming spiritual patterns in my eyelids. I was being jerked along the ground by legs like a heavy sack of rocks. I could feel every step he took vibrate across my entire body. But I couldn't do anything to stop it. I could no longer move of my own accord. I just kept getting dragged inch by inch across that filthy floor. Then eventually he stopped and threw me down, and I rolled hard onto my face. I was helpless before him. That piece of chocolate that had fallen out of my pocket. I was pretty sure it did anyway. And I wasn't about to let anyone else have it. Give it back, you bastard. The large man took my crumpled form and roughly flipped me back over by the legs, as if I were nothing more than a doll to him. I was facing him from the middle of the hallway as he readied his enormous hammer and looked right into my eyes. Was this it? Was I going to be killed now? Please, God, no. I was terrified, but not entirely. After all, she's coming to save me. Naho's coming. I know she is. She'll always come. She's my friend. All for a piece of chocolate. Episode 4, Purgatory. Oh, look at him. My name is Saika Oi. I'm a junior at Paulana Academy High School. I'm just a normal girl, but my job conflicts with my studies, so I don't go to school all that often. And this was the first day I had free in a while, so I called out my friend Naho, and we spent the whole day together having a blast. The last event on our schedule was a Twinkle Girls concert. They play every so often at the local venue called Club Beta. And they're also incredibly cute. I try to catch them whenever I can. Recently, Twinkle had been performing on evening request shows, and they've been getting more and more attention, as well as they should, you know? I joined on the team program a few times myself, and the group and I like to keep in touch through text and tweets. My eyes met with Naho's, and we both put our hands in the air, like we just didn't care. So cute! Thanks, Saika. Twinkle's the best. I think I'm in love. Right? Aren't they awesome? I mean, their moves in that last one. In that last song. I remember. Check it. Check this out. Whoa, you got it down, girl. Though I think your hip movements are a teensy bit off. Outside Club Beta after the show, fans were hanging around the street corner, immersed in the lingering rhythm of the music. I wanted to ride that wave myself, but I didn't like the idea of blocking the road in the process, so Naho and I just pranced our way back to the station. Hey, check it out! I bought a towel! Naho began waving around a towel she bought at the merchandise booth after the show. She looked like a manager hunting a pop idol. The new #1 fan. That's excellent. I'll have to buy buy one next time myself. Oh, it's still only 9. Hey, Psycho. What say we drop by Gus on the way back? Come on, let's get ourselves some sweets to eat. Sounds pretty sweet to me. Lead on. They're so cute. Give me a strawberry milk flan special, please. Whatever it was Naho ordered, it sounded completely alien to me. The heck is that? Sounds super sugary. Something that'll put me in 7th heaven. That's what. It's covered in milk and ridiculously oh my goodness. This is Naho's Sanayako. We're in the same school, same year, same class. Our backgrounds are sort of similar, and well, we talk all the time and eat together and stuff. But most of all, just look how cute she is. When we're together, she even makes a gal like me all wobbly. I love this little lady. Point is, it's good, and you're welcome to try some if you'd like. Why, thank you. As for me, I believe I'll go with the butterful pancakes. Coming right up. They do say girls shouldn't ingest a lot of calories after 9 at night, but hell, we hadn't eaten anything all day, so I figured why not indulge a little. Naho was gazing longingly at her towel while singing the melody to one of Twinkle's songs. She's usually a really cool and collected person, so I bet our classmates would flip out if they saw her like this. It was only when the two of us were alone together that she let loose with this feline-like personality of hers, and it always made me feel really special. You sure seemed like you had a great time. I'm glad you could join me. Naho slowly raised her head and looked into my eyes, and wow, what a gaze the girl had. I felt like I could lose myself in those perfect peepers. Huh? Something wrong? I'm worried about you, Sayaka. You haven't been getting through rest lately, have you? I completely hid my fatigue, but Naho somehow saw right through me. I could never see anything from her. Keep anything from her. Yeah, I haven't really had weekends these last 2 months. Voice acting, soap operas, online radio. Yeah, I can definitely see the problem. I'll bet you're one to talk though. Radio, ghost hunts, and oh yeah, aren't you supposed to be in a movie too? Totally jelly, by the way. I'm just an extra. I'll be sitting behind Tamiki Saito eating French food. Hooray for me! I didn't announce that yet, though. Where'd you hear about it? On Mr. Tashio's blog, of course. He wrote a ton about it, all in boldface, and he told everybody to cheer you on as loud as they could. Oh, they. Her expression twisted in an exaggerated laugh pose, and she sprawled out across the table. You can't say anything around that guy. For a while I gazed at Naho, who had placed her chin on the table and puffed out her cheeks, not sure how to break the silence. I tried switching subjects. Oh, hey Naho, for my next radio show I'm doing a special on scary stories. The deflated Naho suddenly reinflated. Guess I'd piqued her interest. You got a great voice. I'd love to have you as a guest speaker. You can be my expert commenting on ghost stories submitted by listeners. Her head still glued to the table. Naho fell deep into thought. She seemed oddly concerned. I couldn't miss the momentary twinkle in her eye. Though success. I just needed to rebait the line, and she was good as caught. Come on, please, me? My listeners know we're friends, and I get a ton of messages asking me why you haven't been on the show yet. You'd be a big hit for sure. But more than anything, I really want to see what it's like to co-host a show with my bestest buddy, Naho. Oh, she mewed. She was showing interest. It wouldn't take much to get her to pounce on this old yarn now. Oh. Come on. Oh my goodness. This is a thing that just sort of happened between us sometimes. I turned to a cat and I just play a part of her master autism. That is autism right there. There's some fancy cat food in it for you if you say yes. What's that supposed to mean exactly? I'll treat you at a good Cafe Quill Fate non-sound good. Oh! Naho's face lit up. Okay, I'll do it. Yeah, thank you. I love Naho. Why are you hissing at me? I did it! I've gotten the green light. My smile couldn't have been bigger at that moment. Naho's popularity had exploded recently, so she had been having a hard time managing all the requests she'd been getting to appear on the other radio shows. I've been hoping to get a chance to tie our work together at some point, but I never imagined it'd be this easy. So with that out of the way, we sat back and enjoyed the hell out of our butterful pancakes and strawberry milk flan special. And before we knew it, it was past 10. Naho and I stood up and started down the road home, giggling and chatting the whole way. So Naho, when are you going to school again? Planned on it tomorrow. I've been ditching class a lot for work, but they said I should at least show up to hand in my report. Oh, okay. You're going to have to turn it in too, you know. They'll be asking for it next time you're there. Really? Well, whatever. It's just a report. It'll work itself out if I stay up all night. Oh, hey! You want to stop in and grab Kibiki's new book? You've been dying to read it, right? And this place is on your way, so... Oh, yes, please! Right this way, then, madam. Naho's house was literally on the way home for me. Or rather, Mr. Kibiki's house, since that's where she'd been staying for the last little while. Due to variation circumstances, Naho had been commuting to school from here rather than living with her parents. Supposedly she moved in to study under Mr. Kibiki, like his Padwan. She was always willing to go to that extra mile, and I always admired that about her. Kibiki, I'm home! Welcome back. Not too cold out, I trust? Nah. Ah, hello, you must be. I was nervous as he looked me over, but he had very kind eyes, and man was he ever hot, like old school Japanese style hot. Good evening, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Sayaka Yu. I bowed quickly, and Mr. Kibiki flashed a gentle smile. I'm Kibiki. Thanks for always looking after Naho. She talks about you quite a lot. I'm so glad. I've heard a lot about you, Mr. Kibiki. A laundry list of failed publications, no doubt. Oh, no. That's not true at all. Hey, Sayaka, since you're here, why don't you stay for tea or something? Kibiki brought some really amazing second flush Darjeeling. Well, I kind of felt like I was being put on the spot. I mean, I was already late, and I doubted Mr. Kibiki was too keen on playing host. You don't mind, do you, Kibiki? Of course not. Though you'd best give your family a call and let them know where you are. You wouldn't want to worry them, after all. Thank you very much. I hope it isn't too much trouble. Please make yourself at home. Dude's got a killer smile, and it was easy to see why Naho got so into him. Alright then, come on in. Okay. In front of Kibiki, Naho returned to her usual cool self. After calling home, I passed nervously through the living room, feeling a bit like I was imposing. But what a living room it was! The furnishings were a fusion of Japanese and Vietnamese styles, and everything just looked really posh and inviting. I like that statue on the right. It looks really comfortable. Looks like you can just, I don't know, looks really nice. This place is incredible! Go ahead and leave your bag over there, and please get comfortable. I'll put on a deerling, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is. Oh, thank you very much. Thanks, Kibiki. It's no problem at all. I was looking to drink some myself, in fact. Kibiki then disappeared into another room, his smile never once fading, a total dreamboat all the way. Naho gestured for me to sit, so I cautiously plopped myself down on an expensive-looking sofa. Whoa, I'm sinking! Sayaka, just relax, okay? I'm going to hit the little girl's room, okay? Okay, I'll be napping here when you get back. Go for it! Naho began walking out of the room, chuckling at my swiftly sinking form. Mere moments later, though, it sure caught me by surprise. I turned to the direction of the screen, concerned. God, Tashi, lock the damn door when you're in there. Sorry, Naho. I heard the door slam shut with incredible force, So that was the infamous Mr. Tashi, huh? No love lost between those two, it seems. The nerve of that guy. Having peeked out to check on Naho, Mr. Kibiki again withdrew with his wide-eyed face to the kitchen, laughing softly. I swear I could look at him all day. Oh my goodness, Naho's face. Trying to savor each single droplet of deep crimson liquid in my cup, I slowly and carefully imbibed the tea that was placed before me. Whatever blend Kibiki had brewed bore a flavor unlike anything else I'd ever tasted. Ah, it's wonderful. Excellent, I'm glad you like it. It's got such a complex taste and aroma. I always thought all black tea was the same, but then at my house we only have the kind that comes in tea bags. There's nothing wrong with tea that comes in bags. I've gotten quite good these days, in fact. This is just the way I'm used to drinking it. It's really delicious, Mr. Kibiki. Is it about time for you to go home? Oh, come on, Naho. Don't be like that. He may have been her elder, but he was completely outmatched by Naho. Those two had a pretty fascinating relationship all their own. Actually, no, I do have a rental video to return by the end of the day, so I guess I should probably be leaving after all. More corn. I'm not gonna say the actual word. What? No. What do you mean by more? Anyways, if you excuse me. Techno break. Death by Fab. Oh my goodness. I feel so awkward right now. Naho faced Mr. Tashi and posed as if she were shooting a beam of light at him, like some kind of legally inimitable masked superhero. I'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Kibiki. You too, Naho. Actually, I'm going to school tomorrow, so no you won't. Oh really? That's a surprise. You just keep on keeping on, Tashi. Rock those 29 years of inseparable accomplishments. Man, you're ruthless. He staggered to the door and vanished into the outside world, utterly defeated. Watching from next to me, Mr. Kibiki simply waved his hand and smiled. I should probably be going too. Thank you very much for your hospitality. My pleasure. I'm sorry we couldn't offer you any more. Oh, please! Well, Tashi's gone. We got a pretty good head start, so I don't think you'll have to worry about running into him. Oh, you're ruthless. You're welcome back anytime. Please be careful on your way home. Thank you so much for everything. Have a good night. I stepped out from Kibiki's lovely home, and Naho walked me to the corner. The air felt crisp and cool against my cheeks. It had been a positively lovely day all around. Before parting ways, I lent Naho one of the Twinkle CDs I had in my bag. Then we hugged, and I began the short walk back to my own house. Thank you, Naho. This case you discovered with Heavenly Hills Elementary is absolutely remarkable. Uh-oh. If our investigation bears fruit, this could be very well turn the world of occult research on its head. It's too good to pass up. We're back in the school, huh? No, Daddy's not breathing. Guess not. Nightmare. Just a dream. I have to write this down. Sacred Ground Investigation File 02 K. Prefecture, Heavenly Host Elementary, currently under investigation. Further progress. Encountered fierce spiritual resistance while simply researching the Shinozaki estate. Right side of body paralyzed and left eardrum ringing. Orbs visible in photographs. Influence confirmed. Several dizziness, nausea, bloody BM experience. Symptoms persist for weeks. And relenting nightmares on top of all that. This really is way too dangerous for them. Kibiki and Tashi don't know how to protect themselves from spirits. They shouldn't go at all. My name is Naho Sanuki. I travel the country investigating reports of haunted locations, assuaging clients' fears and doing whatever I can to help them. Recently, strange, unpleasant things had begun happening to me. I've been investigating a certain haunted ground for the last month and encountered a maleficent will more powerful than anything I'd ever experienced. I attributed this to the paper doll I brought back with me. No, of the sort commonly used in curses, no doubt a bad idea, but invaluable for research. This is the reason I hesitated when Taika asked me earlier to be on her radio show at the restaurant earlier. Ghost stories can actually provoke the spirits involved in them. I was afraid that whatever entity had latched onto me might have some negative effect on Sayaka as well. Fortunately, aside from the wreaking havoc on my physiology, the spirit didn't seem to be affecting those around me in any way. If I could just keep it under control, I was certain my appearance on Sayaka's radio show would go off without a hitch. Kibiki? I'd gone to the kitchen for a glass of water, and though I hadn't noticed on my way down, I saw Kibiki fast asleep on the living room sofa as I headed back. Kibiki? You're going to catch a cold down there, you know? Kibiki? Sound asleep. Oh, Kibiki, you're so cute. Kibiki had pulled an all-nighter last night, so I was pretty sure he'd sleep well into the afternoon. There we go. A nice warm blanket for you. Sweet dreams. Spirit research is a decidedly dangerous field. Numerous people had warned me not to get in too deep, so why did I do it? For Kibiki, of course. If Kibiki could make progress on this occult novel through my researches, if he could succeed in all his endeavors, then no price would be too high, I felt. For his respect and admiration, I'd happily sacrifice anything to anyone. Yeah, it's definitely too dangerous to send Kibiki and Tashi to Heavenly Hills by themselves. I'll have to make sure I go with them. I tucked Kibiki in and returned to my room. Realizing he'd been asleep when I left for school, I decided to write him a note. Just as I was concerned for him, Kibiki was worried about putting me in danger as well, stating his prior intent to go to Heavenly Hills with Tashi instead. I was so flattered by his consideration that I just didn't have the heart to lecture him about how lecturiously bad an idea that was. Let's see. To my dear mentor. The time is now 11 in the morning. Here's the latest news of the day. The body of schoolgirl discovered in the plaza near the escalators at the southeast exit to Tokyo's Shinjuku station. Good morning, Naho. I want to talk to you about that tingent urban legend you found. I really think it may be a bit too dangerous to bring you alone, so Tashi and I would probably go by ourselves. Huh? She's not here. Come to think of it, she did say she'd be going to school today, which is rather unlike her. As unusual, everything's in perfect order in this room, like night and day compared to my study. What's this? A note? To my dear mentor, for you, I'll go to any lengths. Based on my findings from Old Tension Town records, I feel more confident that it is possible to return from the school using the escape plan we discussed. But you and Tashi don't have the ability to resist spirits like I do. It would be far too dangerous in there just for the two of you. So when I get home from school today, I'll be joining you in performing the charm of Shinjuku. I don't hold much hope for success, but if it works, you're seriously going to get the scoop to end all scoops. If I can make lightning strike a third time for you with the editorial department, then you totally owe me dinner, Naho. Thank you, Naho, but I really can't allow you to put yourself in danger like that. I know the escape plan. I'm going to go with trusty old Tashi, and you're going to wait for us here. I guess I should write her a note to that effect. Good morning, Mr. Kibiki. Are you awake? Well, he's full of spirit today. Perfect then. Let's not waste any more time. I went to school as soon as I finished my morning recording session, but then it was already lunchtime, and now I'd skipped class as usual. But I knew where to find her. Work may have kept her out of school most of the time, but when she did come, there was one spot she always chose for lunch. She liked to get away from the noisy classrooms to eat in peace, and I knew this because, well, I did too. This wasn't just her spot, but mine as well. We'd probably get in trouble if a teacher ever found us there, though. See, the lock to the door leading to the school roof just happened to be broken, so... No, they broke it! What a nice breeze, and that sunlight too, absolutely magical. There's a fence between the buildings to prevent students from falling, but it wasn't very high, so getting over it was a fairly simple task. Oh my god, I don't need to see that. Cross the gap, mindful of any stray guess out of wind, the best shade on that side, so as long as I didn't look down, it was well worth the effort. And there she is. Oh, Naho, can you stop with the Sprite? As expected, she was nested right into her usual spot. The side is possibly picturesque. A high school girl all tucked away on the school roof, nose buried in a book with nondescript paper dust jacket. I swear you could just paint any moment of this girl's life and it would just make a fine portrait. Sayaka, hey there, sorry to have kept you out so late last night. Hope your family wasn't mad at you or anything. Thank you. God, I didn't want to see that anymore. Nope, no problems at all. They were a-okay with it. Naho, seems you've trained them well. So what are you implying? So hey, that book from Mr. Kibiki you lent me yesterday, freaking awesome. Right? Didn't it just totally suck you in? I love how it goes on and on with the psychological descriptions of the first murder scene. That protagonist is totally nutso. Yeah, I wish I hadn't been reading it in bits and pieces during my work commune, though kinda took away from the tension, but I can't wait to read more. Yeah, just keep at it. It's gonna blow your mind. Oh yeah, and Twinkle CD you lent me to die for. Seriously. Really? Awesome! I bet you recognize a bunch of those songs from the concert, right? You should check out some of their music videos sometime too. Maybe I've got one on my phone that I can show you now. Nope, guess not. I'll have to give you a rain check on that. I wonder if there are any good fan-made ones. Oh, good call. If there are, I totally want to see. The bell. 1 o'clock already? Well, I got an appointment I can't miss, I'm afraid. I guess I'll see you after school for recording. It's at 5:30 in East Shinjuku, so we should probably meet at 4 behind the school gate. Okay, you said behind the gate. Really? What are you, 5? Naho was cool as a cucumber, just like always. Today's recording was sure to be a blast. This one's persistent. I'll give her that. Blood? Really? This curse. Is this curse honestly affecting me all the way down to the cellular level? Seriously, how long are you planning on haunting me? Forever. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's installment of Sayaka's Heroes Love Braver. The night don't start till I pour out my heart. So let's get pouring, shall we? You'll never guess where I went today. I went to school. I met up with a friend, actually. It was the first time in a while I could just kick back and relax. We talked forever. Like, forever. But, of course, the real reason I went was to learn stuff and junk. Of course. Tee. They're laughing at me in the control booth? What's going on in there, fellas? The thought of Miss You actually going to school is hilarious. Hey, come on. I go to school. I do. I'm a high school student just like everybody else my age. Don't laugh. You trying to say I'm too old? Too cool for school? Seriously, stop it. You're gonna give me a complex. Some days you just can't win, you know? All I wanted to do was to say how great school is, and look what happened. I'm a laughingstock. Well, I'm glad you guys are having fun at least. Let's enjoy our half hour together tonight to the fullest, Braver. Sayaka's on-air personality was incredible. I was absolutely listening to a pro at work, and she had me hooked from the moment the show began. Okay, that wraps up the intro. Miss Sharaki, please head into the roof. On my way. It was my turn now as a guest speaker. When I entered the recording booth, Sayaka sat facing her mic and waved me over. Heya, girlfriend! I returned Sayaka's cheery smile and sat myself in front of the guest mic that had been prepared for me. But something felt wrong. Very, very wrong. Ooh. Uh-oh. What's the matter? Oh, it's nothing. I felt dizzy for a second. Well, the camera's on you now, so wear your cutest face, okay? Roger that. This child was a daughter mentioned in my research on the Shinozaki family. This was Sachiko. She was the one who'd attach herself to me. Her eyes were black and hollow, with no discernible pupils at all. She sat utterly motionless, but I knew she was watching me, waiting, biding her time. My hair stood on end, blood rushed to my head, and bile surged into my throat. The Shinozaki curse was far too powerful. I couldn't suppress it. And it was clear Sayaka couldn't see her. This was bad. I had to be careful not to let Sachiko interfere with the recording. Okay, we're back. Start with the listener mail. Alright, folks. You've all been waiting for the top of this week. Try to do a thing workshop is. Oof. Can I go home now? Please? What do you mean no? Come on, be a sport. Guess there's nothing I can do about it. This week's topic is... That's right. Try to tell a scary story. Yikes. Man, I told you all I didn't want to do this one. So why did you guys send in so many responses? We actually received a record amount. Far too many to tackle by myself, so I've invited a guest to help me out. Hey, don't run the applause yet. I haven't even said who it is. Or has everybody already guessed because it's totally who you think it is? The pro with the know-how, spirit investigator extraordinaire, as beautiful as she is brainy, it's high school of paranormalist, Naho Seniki. Give it all for Naho! Good evening. Thanks so much for coming. No, thank you. It's an honor to have been invited. Oh, how about that, everyone? So mellow, so modest. Isn't she just the bee's knees? Oh my goodness, this is so funny. Naho and I actually go to the same school. We're even in the same class. Isn't that right? We hang out a lot. In fact, some of you clearly knew that, and just have been outright demanding that Naho make a guest appearance for quite some time now. Well, your wish is my command. My pleasure, in fact. I think I may be even more thrilled to have her here than you guys. Anyways, given today's theme, Naho seemed the perfect guest, so here to get us started with some choice words for any evil spirits that may be listening. Tremble on the border between this life and the next under my 7 stars. That's what I'm talking about! Those ghosties have got to be shivering in their internal booties after hearing something like that. So let's get right to the listener letters, shall we? Here's a series story from Junpei Nagi of M City in Tokyo. In my experience, adverse spiritual manifestations from my research had always been easy enough to keep at bay with my powers, but this one was different. For this energy completely visible in broad daylight, I'd never seen anything like it. Oh, this was bad. My head was splitting, but the cameras were rolling, so to speak, so I had to at least keep myself from coughing up blood again. Naho was grabbing her skirt tightly with both hands. Alice was completely rigid. My, was she actually getting nervous? How unlike her. I kind of grinned internally a bit at the sight of Naho acting all girly and scared. It was adorable, as I'd like to say, but I still had a show to host. I slid open the door, and before me I saw a pair of eyes staring intently right into my very soul. How that is so super freaky! How about it, Naho? This has got to be fake, right? Mr. Amizu of Kaito is just pulling her leg, right? He may be, but with only this evidence to go on, it's hard to judge the authenticity of the claim. So what you're saying is, it might actually be real? Whee! That is a possibility, yes. Oh no, please! Actually, I've noticed something even more frightening since this segment began. Naho, your focus began drifting over to the corner of the booth. Well, don't tell me there's somebody there. Is there? Oh, I'm getting chills. Do we have another guest with us today? An uninvited one? Please say no. No. We're fine. This seemed to be a perfect twist up to the tension of the segment. The look on Naho's face yesterday may have been onto something, which was terrifying. Her guest spot on this show may have just been fun and games, and I knew Naho is about as well versed in spiritual matters as they come. This gave her a great deal of confidence, but be known to me that confidence was beginning to unravel all around her. She was in way over her head. By the time she would come to realize this, it would be too late, and not just for her. Great work, everyone. That's a wrap. Oh, she's so cute. The recording ended without incident, as far as anybody knew. Sayaka tossed a piece of chocolate into her mouth that she seemed to have brought with her. She was as casual and relaxed as can be. So, go out with it. Did you see something in the booth or not? No, I didn't see anything. I glanced back to the recording booths. Sashi's spirit had disappeared a little while ago. I felt like it was best I skipped that too fast. What the? What's wrong? Was something talking out of here during the recording? No way would any of us make a rookie mistake like that. You wouldn't be able to hear us from the inside booth anyway. There's something on that tape, though. Sounds like a voice to me. Huh? Where? Here, during this exchange. Mr. Minuzuna of Kaito is just pulling her leg, right? Maybe, with only this evidence to go on. Only hearing these two. You don't hear a third voice? Right there, after Miss Sanako says he may be. Pulling her leg, right? Okay. Oh my god, there is a voice. It's saying, I'm watching you. Right? Her sprites are really cool. You got to be kidding me. It's in the recording for sure. That's so creepy. Is this for real? An actual EVP? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's the matter? Pull yourself together. Suddenly, the director began to clutch at his throat and thrash around. His face was bright red and his mouth frothed over as he struggled to breathe. Hold him down. He's gonna knock everything over and hurt himself. Yes, sir. Is it over? What was that? Some kind of seizure? Oh crap, he's not breathing. What? God! Call an ambulance, quickly, he needs CPR. Okay. Come on, keep it together, man. What the hell's going on? Send the guests home. We're done. Sayaka's unusual smiling countenance had been replaced by a thin mouth and a cold sweat. There was no doubt about it. This was the influence of that spirit. And it must be absolutely terrifying for her coworkers who'd never had contact with the spirit world before. I regretted appearing on the program. I'm so sorry. I guess I shouldn't have come. Oh, don't be silly. You did great. We managed to resuscitate the director too at the hospital. And we can cut out the voice for the broadcast, but honestly, I say we leave it. I mean, it's kind of lucky break when you think about it. I'm really grateful for your help today. I owe you one, so if there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. Oh, and as for Quill no, how's next week sound? On the way home, Naho finally smiled, glad to see she still had it in her. I needed to put on a happy face myself, too. I was afraid if I seemed too gloomy, it would bring Naho down, and she hadn't done anything wrong. I had to let her know how grateful I was, and try to bring her spirits back up. The two of us had parted ways on a corner near our houses, as I needed to stop in the convenience store for some groceries. See you later, thanks again. You too, good night. I never before seen such a strong, persistent spiritual presence. I had a considerable amount of power within me, and usually it was more than enough to disperse any malicious wills that dared draw near. But even with all my concentration, I still put Sayaka and her co-workers in grave danger. They easily could have been killed by the curse. For the sake of the Kibiki's safety, we really could have put the kibosh on our entire investigation on the Shiniki family line a lot sooner. But it wasn't too late to call it off. As far as I knew, I was going to pull out from the Heavenly Host Elementary case altogether. I'd made up my mind. I should probably undergo a traditional spirit exorcism as soon as possible. It's already past 9:30, and so it had been dark out for hours already, yet there wasn't a single light on in Kibiki's house. Kibiki? No signs of light. Somehow the whole house felt larger and emptier than ever before. Kibiki? Kibiki, are you sleeping? I peeked into his study, and he wasn't there, nor was he anywhere else. The house was deserted. Now Kibiki's meetings for work were always held at irregular times, so this wasn't unpretended or anything. But the atmosphere inside just felt different. Somehow there was this peculiar silence, as if no one had ever lived in here in the first place. I'm watching you. Something just seemed very, very wrong. It was like someone was watching me, sneering at me. Uh-oh. Finally, I found a note on my desk. Not the one I left for Kibiki this morning, but a response written in his familiar scrawl. Dear Naho, thanks for your concern. I couldn't live with myself if I exposed you to any more danger on my behalf, however. Tachi and I have gone to Heavenly Host Elementary. We noted the way back, so please don't worry. We will return safe and sound. And if we're successful, let's all go out for a nice meal together, okay? Her room is cute. With a sigh and a mumble, I snapped back to reality, glancing at the clock. I marveled at the fact that it was already past 10. I've been a daze for half an hour since getting home. Craziness. Ooh, what a day. My shoulders feel like they've got lead weights on them. I couldn't have brought it back with me, right? No, there's no way I stood up from my desk. The problem was the uniform. I couldn't relax in it. I know better. I just need to change. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll feel better once I get out of this uniform. I can see you. God, please. Is somebody there? Please, no! I was glad no one had seen me talking to thin air like that. There was nobody else around. Of course, nothing to be afraid of. It was just my imagination. I really, really need to get out of my uniform, so once again I started changing when. Definitely not my imagination time. There was somebody screaming outside my window, running toward my house. What? I seriously felt like I was going to break down. Maybe I already had. Opening the curtain slowly, I peered outside to see who it was. Wait, is that Naho? I couldn't see her face clearly, being on the second floor and all. But that was Naho, alright. She was crying like a mad woman. She looked awful. What's wrong, Naho? Naho? Sayaka, it's Kibiki. Kibiki crossed over. Okay, calm down, Naho. Tell me what happened. Where's Mr. Kibiki? I don't know what to do. It's all my fault. If Kibiki were to die in there. This was the first time I ever seen her so incoherent. I spoke slowly and gently, trying my best to calm her down. Naho, please just tell me what happened. Let me help you. Start at the beginning. I want you to come back with me right now. What? Please, I'm begging you. Tears were streaming down her face. This was a side of Naho I never even imagined could exist. There had to be a reason she was so desperate. I agreed to follow her back to Kibiki's house, if only out of concern of her well-being. Sachi ever after. Those who perform this ritual can cross over to Heavenly Host, a cursed school sealed outside our world, outside time and space. It's a locus of powerful energy, and the effect it's had on me thus far had been disturbing enough that I decided to abandon my investigation. Before I could convey that to Kibiki, he crossed over without me, taking only Tashi back up. So please, Sayaka, you're my only hope at this point. Will you come to me to Heavenly Host so I can rescue Kibiki? I didn't really get any of what she was saying. Heavenly Host Elementary, a cursed school, and this was all to rescue Kibiki. What was in there exactly? What he needed rescuing from? The one thing I didn't understand was that I'd be accompanying Naho to some unsafe, unfamiliar spirit world. I couldn't just casually agree to go with her. So this place I'd be going with you is dangerous then? Scarcely, you know? Please, I can't perform the ritual by myself. You're the only person I can count on. And I swear I'll protect you, no matter what. His face was the most disheveled I'd ever seen it, and she was practically begging. I knew two sides of this girl. Cool and collected, professional persona, and her cat to the master, but this panic desperation fit in neither of them. The words I spoken to her following our recording session suddenly popped into my head. I owe you one, so if there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. Kibiki! Kibiki! I took one more look at Naho's tear-stained face, and just knew I couldn't turn away from her in this time of need. Naho, do you really promise to protect me? Uh-huh. A ray of hope lit up Naho's face like a flower in bloom, and I knew I'd make the right decision. Alright then. I'm in. What are friends for, after all? Thank you, Sayaka. I just couldn't bear to see her cry like that. A face as cute as her deserved to wear a smile at all times. We'll be out for a while, though, right? You mind if I run back home first and take care of some things before we go? Okay, I'll be waiting for you here, but naked. Not a good idea. I'll catch your death of cold. Anyway, I'll be right back. Uh-oh. Well, as long as Kibiki's over there, he's probably already dead. The larger the sample size for his research, the better. This is for you, man. The Shinozaki estate. We don't need that place anymore. If he's going to leave me here to spread the curse for him, then fine. That's just what I'll do. No hesitation, no backing down. My blog should do nicely. Let's see. In this world, there's nothing worse than parting ways with a dear friend. Some may say it's sweet sorrow. Oh, I almost forgot the subject line. Sashiko in the ever after. Wait, no. How about Sashiko ever after? Perfect. There's hoping for lots of hits. Mom, I'm heading out. Not wanting to worry her, I told her a little white lie, suggesting that I had another recording session tonight. I'd been going to late sessions practically every night for a while now, so it seemed the perfect excuse, and sure enough, she bought it. You certainly are a hard worker, Sayaka. Just make sure you keep your energy up out there. Don't get so busy that your blood sugar drop. Here. Candy! She handed me a small piece of emergency chocolate. Yeah, that's what I need. I need emergency chocolate. I love chocolate. This was like a tradition with her. She'd always give me one when I left to show her support. And it always reminded me that I was loved. This one, in particular, is bringing tears to my eyes. I must have been more scared than I thought. I'll be home as soon as I can, thanks. Knock 'em dead, sweetie. Oh no, don't say that. Sashiko, we beg of you. Sashiko, we beg of you. You said it twice, right? In your head? Yep. Okay, then it's time to pull this thing apart. Make sure you only use your nails, and don't let go. Got it. 1, 2, 3. Something impossible was happening. We performed the ritual just as Naho had instructed, and then the floor just split open and swallowed us whole. Was this a dream? Was I hallucinating? It sure felt real, though. It felt like I was being dragged to hell. My vision quickly went bright white, and my consciousness seemed to fade to black. And then... I felt dust or sand filling my mouth, and I sprang to my feet, choking. Yuck. What is this? Where am I? Naho? I was in a cold, dark room. It was damp and clammy, and felt very much like a cave. Was this the Heavenly Host Elementary Naho was telling me about? Naho! Naho! Racked with apprehension, I tried raising my voice, but barely had one to raise. I looked around, but didn't see Naho anywhere, and there was no response. God, this can't be real, can it? I wanted to go home, to forget this place existed, but then I realized I never asked Naho how to cross back over without her. I was stuck here. So that was my top priority then. I absolutely had to find Naho. I'm sure she hadn't accounted for the possibility that we'd wind up in different spots once we got here. But as long as I could track her down, soon I knew everything would work out. I stepped forward slowly and carefully, and took a closer look at my surroundings. Okay. Oops, didn't even realize I could look around. Okay, something there. Kamiye, the bird in the basket. When when will you come out? Will it be in the evening of dawn? The crane and the turtle have fallen, so who is it that stands behind me? Where am I? What am I? Am I hearing things? That's a child's voice, isn't it? Maybe this really is an elementary school after all. Okay, doesn't look like there's anything. Okay, let's go over here. The wall? What the? It's crumbling! Oh my! That was close! And I can't get through. Mommy, save me! Is there? Oh! The path here is completely blocked with rubble. There's no way through. No, I guess that's it. Okay. Let's go over here now. The lights flickered, and I could swear I saw something up on the path ahead. Hopefully, just my eyes playing tricks on me, please. Is someone there? Okay, nothing. Let's go to the boys' room. The door is sealed firmly shut. There's no way to open it. Girls' room. Is this a bathroom? I'm like in a cave, and there's a bathroom here. No matter how I looked at it, nothing about this place seemed like an elementary school in any way. But there's lights on the ceiling and support beams to prevent cave-ins, so it certainly wasn't naturally formed cavern either. I mean, there was even indoor plumbing down here. No thank you. I actually did have to go, but there's a limit to how dirty and disgusting a bathroom stall can get before I can refuse to close myself in there. Guess I just have to hold it. Nothing? Oh, there's a body. There's a skeletal remains here. It's a small child. Maybe she was hiding. There's a name tag attached to her jacket. Cool, I guess. So... Let's play. Come and get me. I'm over here. I'm over here. No, I'm over here. No, I'm over here. No, I'm over here. I could hear children calling for me, hiding and gloating, for me to find them. Why are we in a bomb shelter? That's really weird. Are you ready yet? Not yet. Are you ready yet? Not yet. I could hear the voices of the children playing. Nothing. Let's go to the pool, I guess. You may proceed. You may proceed. What narrow path is this? Is this the path of heavenly hosts? No more! God, what is this place? Where even am I? Again, nothing. Maybe go over here first? I could hear children laughing. There's a body. There's a foul-smelling rotting corpse here. Based on a uniform, is probably a male high school student in life. He seems to have died sitting down, though he doesn't look very relaxed. There's a student ID name tag on his chest. Maybe there's another one over here. And there is. There's a fully decomposed corpse here. She's wearing a skirt, so it seems safe to assume this was a female student in life. Her name tag confirms this. Okay. Let's go to the pool. The door's sealed firmly shut. There's no way to open it. Nothing else around here. Oh boy. There's a recently deceased corpse here. Her hands are outstretched as if she were trying to desperately dig her way through the wall. There's a student ID name tag on her uniform. Okay, what do I do now? I kept looking around trying to see what am I doing wrong, and it accidentally skipped through the dialogue. But they're saying, why, save me, help me please, it hurts, please stop. And it said a door open nearby, and I was trying to find that. And now I finally have it, and I know what door it is. But it's this area. I don't know why it took so long to open. I had to go everywhere like so many times. Not sure why, but oh well. I just wish it wouldn't take so long to walk through all this stuff. It doesn't need to be locked anymore. Good. Now we can finally go inside. I didn't think this place was getting darker, but this room proved me wrong. It was completely and utterly devoid of all light. My only indication as to its size was the bloop bloop sound of dripping water somewhere inside, and based on the echo, it didn't seem too big. I was perfectly content to leave it at that, honestly, but I couldn't, because I knew Naho might have been in here, seized with fear and panic. She usually kept a cool head, sure, but I just seen what she looked like when she didn't, and it worried the hell out of me, so I had to know. Naho? No responses. Not that I heard anyway. The dripping wasn't very loud, but it echoed enough that it could conceivably obscure the sound of a person's voice. As long as I kept the door to this room open, though the pale light of the corridor would filter in, and I'd be able to see the exit. I may not have illuminated much, but at least I'd be able to find my way out in a pinch, so I swallowed my fear and walked into the darkness. Gross! What's that smell? It stinks. Too high heaven. Is something rotting in here? Ew, what's spilled? It's all over my leg. Without thinking, I smacked my hand against my leg, as if trying to knock over whatever was stuck to it. What is this? The metallic smell was so thick that I almost couldn't breathe. What was it? Did I just wipe blood onto my hand? No, it could be. I got a sudden itch for my thigh, so I impulsively reached down to scratch it. And I'm doing so. A small, rice-sized bead stuck to the ball of my finger, but in this all-consuming darkness, I had no way to tell what it was. It felt awful a lot like a grain of rice, though even smushing and smearing like one when I needed it between my thumb and forefinger. What is this? Skin from my thigh? Crap, I hope not. Huh? The lights. Yuck! Oh god, what is this place? The source of the horrible smell was suddenly clear. The room was absolutely drenched. Oh my goodness, why do I keep skipping this stuff so fast? How many gallons of blood must there have been to coat this entire room? And the worst part was none of it was dry. It was all wet. And it was all fresh. There were indistinguishable chunks of flesh and bone everywhere. Just what kind of twisted things was this room being used for? Duh. Huh? I scratched my itching thigh again with my finger, then looked down at my legs, and all at once my blood ran cold. What? A swarm of little white bugs was wriggling around on both my legs. Well, that's what I just squished between my fingers, but there were many, many more, and they were also on my skirt, on my socks, and even inside my shoes. I fell into a state of total panic. I threw off my shoes and began frantically pushing myself off with my arms. I grabbed the hem of my shirt and the colors of my socks and shook the hell out of them, trying to knock as many bugs off my body as I possibly could. Stumbling around, I accidentally planted the heel of my sock into a murky puddle of red liquid, and my mind went blank with disgust. Gross, 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 gross. I can't take this anymore. Calm down, Sayaka. This was just a slaughterhouse. This was a place where livestock was chopped up into meat. It was perfectly natural. There was nothing unusual about this room at all. The blood, the chunks of flesh and bone, probably all just from animals. Okay, let's see what's in this disgusting room. It's absolutely soaked with blood. There's no doubt that countless living things have been killed here. Filthy buckets littered the room. Each was stuffed with reddish-black blobs of meat and quivering yellow and white liquid, and most of them, firmer-like bones, adorned the surface. But one of them seemed to be a far horrid stew than others. And that's because one of them was full of arms, human arms, several of them, jutting out above the bucket lid, practically waving at passerbys. Screams are strange beasts because they basically override all sense of logic and reason within a person's mind. Quite naturally, quite automatically, in my shock, a scream forced its way out from inside my body, from every pit of my stomach. My senses had become razor sharp. I could faintly hear footsteps approaching from the hall outside the room. My stomach tightening, stopping at the next scream in my throat. I was sure of it. In the corridor just outside this room, somebody or something was coming this way, and judging by sound, it sure wasn't Naho. Another scream threatened to slip out. I quickly stifled it. The last thing I needed was to give away my position. Whoever this was getting closer and closer. I had to act. The hallway outside was just a straight shot, so escaping the room without being seen was an option. Hiding was my only hope. But hiding where? Inside the cabinet. Let's save real quick. Inside the cabinet. Let's go inside the cabinet. The footsteps were approaching fast, and I ran over to the large cabinet on the other side of the room. Please open! The doors opened without difficulty, but they were the sort that automatically closed when left untended. Oh well, no time for second guessing now. I turned around and jammed myself end first into the closet, grabbing the edges of the closing doors with my fingers and pulling them for all my worth. Shrinking my body into the cramped closet, I prayed silently for the footsteps to pass by this room. But then the person making those footsteps is probably the same person who turned on the light in there, so I didn't honestly hold out much hope. Rapidly, my thoughts grew darker. Worst-case scenario began flashing through my mind, one after another. I grasped my quivering mouth and finally shaking shoulders as a vain attempt to calm myself down. I clenched my eyes shut and willed myself to swallow any sounds that may otherwise have leaked out. Naho, Naho, please help me. I peeked through the gap in the door, and my fears were confirmed. I was no longer alone in this room. The thing that was in here with me was horrible. He seemed not quite human, but not really anything else either, and whatever he was, I was scared to death of him. On second thought, maybe he was human. He just had a grotesque face and abnormally large body, not to mention a zombie-like disposition, and he was horrifying. He had the limp body of a girl tossed over his shoulder. He walked over to the blood-covered table at the center of the room and violently threw her down onto it. Letting out a moan of agony, she came to. My God, she was still alive. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts! Her legs had been severed at the thigh, like completely cut off. How could anyone do something like that? No! The man straddled the girl and tied both her arms into restraints attached to the table. No, what was he planning on doing to her? He was coming this way. No, 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 please, no. The man passed right by the standing closet. Instead of turning his attention toward the nearby corner of the room, there he began rummaging through a toolbox. He was utterly careless about it, tossing aside any tools he didn't need. Hammers and drills were clanging on the ground, with some sliding under the table. Each time a tool fell, he'd bend over and scoop it up. If it had been under the table, it absolutely would have been found just now. Before long, I pulled out a large pair of pliers. He pulled out a large pair of pliers, turning to the girl's side. He once again stepped up on the table and straddled her body. Well, what is he doing with those exactly? Wordlessly, the enormous beast clamped down on the squirming girl's cheek and squeezed with all his might. Then, as far as I was able to determine from my vantage point, he forced her mouth open and shoved the pliers inside. He readjusted his grip on the handle, then skillfully began opening the two metal prongs while simultaneously pushing them down on her throat. Oh, goodness. No, stop! Finally grasping the girl's tongue with the pliers, the man suddenly yanked his arms upward on one side, sitting a powerful moment, tearing it from her mouth. I heard the sound of her mouth frothing over, and after a moment of squirming, all her movements ceased completely. That's it. That's when I lost it. Tears were streaming down my face, and I began peeing myself uncontrollably. Urine was pooling out from the bottom of the cabinet. Yep, not surprised. Course party always loves their pee. Don't stop! I frantically contracted my stomach, forcing myself to stop peeing. If any of it leaked out from here and gave my position away, I'd be gone for sure. My stomach immediately fought this sudden denial with the painful cramp. Please, please don't do this now. The man tossed the severed tongue into an aluminum bucket at his feet, then roughly threw the pliers back into the toolbox with the ear-splitting clatter. He grabbed the bucket containing the tongue and slowly disappeared from the room. Somebody just had died out there. I was in shock. What I had seen had literally scared the piss out of me. I didn't think that ever actually happened. I had to get out of this room. If I stayed here until he came back, and if he found my hiding place, I could easily be the next one to die on that table. Slowly and shakily, I opened the cabinet doors and re-emerged. Oh no, it's that girl. The girl that we saw with Yumi and stuff. The girl was still aboard. Still is bored. I cannot speak. She almost looked alive, a bit gravely wounded, but her mannequin-like lack of any emotion whatsoever said it all. I stared at this fresh corpse and felt so many conflicting emotions welling up inside me. I exited the room, fighting back more screams from the pit of my stomach seemed instant on coming out. No, what is this place? If I'm dreaming, somebody wake me up, please. But I knew it wasn't a dream. I accepted that this place was real, even though it differed greatly from any reality I'd ever known before. My brain was quickly nearing its breaking point. A stupefy fog clouded my mind's circuits. Naho, please help me, please. Days passed in shivering, isolated bunker. I couldn't even say how many. The cell phone battery ran out after a while, and my watch died too. I was lost completely, but I never stopped looking for Naho. I hadn't eaten anything, I hadn't drunk anything, and I had slept so many times, I couldn't even begin to estimate how long I had been strapped here. The chocolate my mom gave me was still in my pocket, but I couldn't bring myself to eat it. I felt like it represented an important bond between me and her. Our friendship will last forever. It will never die. Naho? Save me, please. Her leg. Yummy! Aww. There it is. So I want to see what happens if I hide under the table. Yep. I'll look at all this stuff at the very end of the game, by the way. Let's see. Continue. Load game. Yeah, I'm gonna do what I did last time, combine the whole chapter together, because I read through it pretty fast, so it ended pretty shortly. But hiding where? Let's go under the soap table. Would it really be okay under the table? Not the best choice, but I guess there really weren't too many other options. Either way, I couldn't afford to hesitate at a time like this. I had to follow my instincts. Fortunately, the table was pretty low to the ground, so I did have some cover there. Nonetheless, I prayed for the footsteps to pass by without coming in. But then, the same person making those steps was probably the same person who turned on the light in here, so I didn't honestly hold out much hope. Rapidly, my thoughts grew darker. Worst-case scenarios began flashing through my mind, one after another. I grasped my quivering mouth and violently shaking shoulders in a vain attempt to calm myself down. I clenched my eyes shut and willed myself to swallow any sounds that threatened to leak out. Naho, please help me. There he is. But what was happening? That was the sound of a girl in pain. The man had apparently dropped someone on the table, and she was either injured or being injured. It hurts. You already read that. I could hear an unearthly scream from the other side of the table above me. My body came rigid. Crap. If he bent down and picked that up, he'd see me for sure. He was a very strange, horrifying creature. He seemed not quite human, but not really anything else either, and whatever he was, I was scared to death of him. On second thought, maybe he was human. Maybe he just had a grotesque face and abnormally large body, not to mention his zombie-like deposition. He was horrifying. I feared as much for my life as any human being can. I was frightened, afraid, terrified. There's no word strong enough. Let me go! I was flailing my arms and legs and doing everything I possibly could to break from his grip. But this man was strong as an ox. He wasn't letting go. I was fairly certain he would crush my throat with his bare hands if he wanted to. Anybody, Naho, Mommy! The man drew up by my neck and violently threw me toward the center of the room. It was almost as if he were proving my hypothesis. The tissues and bones in my throat scraped together with a sickening, unnatural sound. I gasped for air. My trachea was in pieces. I could feel my consciousness drifting away. I wasn't sure why, but he then suddenly let out a blood-curdling moan and made a beeline toward the room's only exit. As he ran out, he turned around and slammed his hand into the heavy iron door, and it began slowly lurching closed. Wait! I was locked in. I knew it right away. I ran toward the door as best as I could manage, but I already knew I wouldn't be able to get it open again. Wait, please help me! The girl I heard screaming was trapped onto the surface of the now overturned table, dangling helplessly. Please help! God, no, open! Open, god damn it! It hurts, it hurts! Days passed, I couldn't even begin to guess how many. The light had returned to that blood-drenched, pitch-black room, and the girl I was trapped with hadn't said a word for a long time. I knew it smelled in here, I knew it was cold, and I knew I was in pain, but I couldn't sense any of it anymore. Was I alive? Was I dead? I wasn't sure even if it even mattered. I just wanted to leave that room. Somebody please help me out. Wrong end. Oh well, now I know how both of the endings are. So, I hope you really enjoyed watching. This is going to be a long video because I'm going to combine them all because I finished it kind of quickly. But thank you all for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and of course, see you on the next one. Goodbye, everyone.